So here are a couple of tricks for those who want to save energy. So if you want to really get to the core of things quickly in a text, focus on the verbs and the nouns. Yes, you lose, of course, a lot of the details, but if you understand, I give you an example here, 2 sentences. Der zahme Hund beißt den unvorsichtigen Mann. So if you're a beginner, this looks like, God knows. Beißen, I have to tell you, but let's assume you know what beißen means, because you've worked through my first lesson or second lesson. Beißen means to, well, actually all you have to understand is Hund. Let's start with Hund. Hund looks like the English word hound. And that's exactly what it is. It is a hound. It's a dog. So what do dogs do? Yeah, they do many things, but what's the main thing dogs do? Bark, and if you are not nice to them, bite. So it's either barking or biting. Now, if I see Mann at the end, I see instantly that's, of course, the English man. So it could be that the dog barks at the man or that the dog bites the man. And that's the information you need. The translation of this would be the tame dog bites the not too cautious man. Yeah? But the main information is dog bites man. And anything else is just decoration. So if you focus on the verbs and the nouns, and not all the nouns are necessarily relevant, you get quickly what it is about. Let's see the next sentence. I don't remember. Yeah. So let's say there is, forget the full stop after man, in seinen vorzüglichen Hintern. Now you see in and you realize, okay, the dog is biting the man into a part of his body, very likely. Yeah. It could also be in a city, but it doesn't look like a city name. Hintern looks like hinder. And if you cut this short, it's hind. It's the behind of things. So the dog bites man behind. His behind, yeah, because it's a capital H, it's the behind. So this is how you figure things out. And I show you how to do this step by step. You don't have to worry. That's, of course, easier for me because I know the language. Yeah. But verbs and nouns. Verbs and nouns. If you work with memorize, and I think even Anki might have a function like that, there's an ignore button. If there's words that you've seen over and over again, or that simply, yeah, get on your nerves, just ignore them. It's fine. It's allowed to ignore things, especially things you already know by heart. You, with every word you get annoyed with, you are actually gnawing, you're kind of, yeah, cutting off piece of your motivation. Nothing is more annoying than doing the same thing over and over again. And the ignore button is your lifesaver after a certain amount of time. Another thing to get your vocabulary going is to make sprints. Sprints means short, intensive bursts of learning periods. So normally I say you invest 20 minutes at a time in doing vocabulary, and you do so 3 times a day if you can. Some people stick with 20 because they don't have the time. But so you spend an hour a day on memorize, if that is more or less the same amount you spend on my course. Yeah, memorize you can do on the toilet, at the bus station, at the doctor's. So it doesn't really count as learning time. But on the weekend you have a bit more time, so you spend 10 minutes more each time and do 3 more sessions, so you end up with 2 hours. That will boost your vocabulary. Do it once a week if you can, and feels okay, twice a week. That will make all the difference. Yeah. We talked about visualization. It activates all senses. It's not the same as using the senses itself, of course not, but it's very important. And I visualize an onion. I can actually smell it and feel it and taste it. Yeah. Use visualization lightly. It comes naturally. You do not sit there and think, I have to visualize. Yeah. If you have read The Secret, you might be rather doing this, but it's not necessary. The secret to the secret is that it doesn't take any effort to visualize what you do. Yeah. So, and it also, like any other tool, you can use a hammer for many things, but you shouldn't use it for many things, many other things than just nailing things somewhere. So use this tool wisely, like any other tool as well. It's very basic, but these things are very often not known and not used and considered. Oh, my most favorite one and last one, the mind-pleasing notebook. You have a mind that doesn't like many things you have to do when you learn German. It doesn't like to not know, to not understand. It doesn't like it. It hates it. And therefore it will distract you. It will say, come, let's look up this word in the dictionary. Let's ask Michael this question, which he will never answer. So the mind-pleasing notebook is something I explained in my course as well, but just quickly, it's simply a notebook that you have, can be digital, can be physical, in which you write any nasty question that comes to your mind, especially when it's a grammar question, because grammar will become clear over time. It takes time, as you remember, you cannot force things. And that pleases your mind somehow, or at least tricks it, even though it's a pretty obvious trick. And you can focus on what is right in front of you, on things that you already know, that you are learning in this moment. It's magical. Try it. I can tell you from experience with thousands of people, 99% of all questions, and especially grammar questions, answer themselves, are resolved without any additional conscious effort, just after long enough time. Yeah, latest after 100 years, your questions do not matter anymore because you will be dead. But in general, it's a lot faster. So it's really, trust me on this, it's amazing. Most questions when it comes to German learning evaporate. But your mind wants to cling to it because it gives your mind security, stability. You need to learn to live with this insecurity. This mind-pleasing notebook is a wonderful trick to actually make it a lot more acceptable. Now, a couple of more principles is the last slide. Yeah, it's a bit longer actually. PC principle. Whoever understands the reference gets a beer when he comes to, or she comes to Berlin. Principles. Input matters most. That means when you cannot remember things, the problem is not that you can't remember. The problem is that you have put in the information in the wrong way, in a way that doesn't allow you to memorize things. Imagine a library in which someone just puts books on a heap without any structure, without any system. And how would you ever find the book you're looking for? If you're lucky, they have a heap for psychology, a heap for German learning, a heap for Swahili. So input matters most. If you know how to put information into your brain, you will more easily, at least it's always some effort, remember it, recall it. So input matters most. The way you learn matters most. And this is why I created my online courses, because it really shows you and helps you to put good food into your brain in a good manner. If the output was the problem, yeah? So nowadays when people say, oh, I've forgotten it, I can't remember that word, the problem is the input. But if let's say the input is perfect and the output is kaput, that basically means you have a physical issue and you should go to the doctor. Yeah? Memory loss is rather a physical issue. Most people, when they say, I cannot remember, or I have forgotten, they simply haven't put much effort into putting it in the first place. Or they do not care, like me. If you ask me what I did last week, I possibly would have to think for a longer period because I don't care. It's the past. But in general, so if there's really something like that and you cannot help, one more thing I forgot, it could also be a psychological issue. Yeah, but that I would still count under input because then you have a blockage during the input. No, I don't want to learn this. I don't want to remember this. There's plenty of psychological issues as well. Now, imagine this library I talked about. This is what it looks like. Yeah? Not taken care of, just put things where you want. This might even have sections still. Difficult words are abstract words. I give you an example. Behörde. It's a word you have to deal with when you come to Germany, Austria, Switzerland. Behörde comes from to belong, I learned today. It's related to gehören, to belong. Other problematic things are long words. Umsatzsteuerprüfungsperiode, which is a word you will never learn, therefore I do not translate it. Yeah, but how to remember this? As a business owner, you might come across this. Then there is something I call whoppers. That's words other people use. Yeah, and that means these are words like Zündkerze, which in English, Zünd, by the way, comes from tinder. tinder in German is Zünder. So tinder is originally wood that you use to make fire. So Zündkerze is something that ignites something, and Kerze, Kerzenlicht, dinner, candlelight dinner. So it's an ignition plug. Yeah, it's an ignition candle. So this word, if you do not have to do anything with mopeds or cars, you will never need this word. If you don't own a car and have it repaired here and there. These are words other people use. Why would you learn them? Yeah, you come across them, you can ignore them. I wouldn't even bother. But these words usually cause trouble because they are not in our field, in our vocabulary range. We all have a fixed vocabulary bubble in which we feel comfortable. As soon as we leave that bubble and go into some specific other bubble, we struggle with words. That's something that will stay with you until the end of your life, no matter how well you speak German. Another issue people have is synonyms and twinsies. Twinsies are twins, yeah, lookalikes, you can call them actually. So look at these three words, gängig, geläufig, vertraut. They are like gängig, I would translate as current, geläufig, common, and vertraut, familiar. They are pretty much synonyms in many ways. You can interchange them freely, but there's limitations. Same with the English words. And twinsies are words that are very similar, like wechseln and ändern, which are exchange and alter. So these things are very similar and cause trouble, because similarity is very difficult for you in the beginning, especially, to keep apart. Now, how do you handle these difficult words? You analyze and connect. Let's take a look at unvorsichtig. We had that word before with a man who got bitten. So if I translate the individual parts, and you cannot do this in yourself at this stage, but at one point you can, and I will get to that in a minute. You see, unvorsichtig literally means not precisely, or if I put Vorsicht together, which gives a new word, that is caution. So not caution or without caution. And Li is just showing you it's an adjective. So someone does something without caution. And what I found is incautious. Maybe there's a better word for that, because I've never heard incautious before today. Yeah. So this is how you can actually make sense of things. Let's take a look at another word, which is more difficult and tricky. So what I actually do here, this analysis I do for you in my course, of course, and not with these words, but with words you use. And this association, and I make some for you, but some you make automatically. Oh, someone is not cautious, yeah, not cautionly, or is not paying caution, is something that sticks with you. You will remember this word. Vorzüglich is more difficult. Zug is more or less the pull, and vor we've learned is pre, so someone is pre-pulling. Pre is often part of the English translation then, but to pull something before something else is usually you prefer something. Vorziehen, which is the origin of this, means to prefer. But if something tastes vorzüglich, it's exquisite. So if something's exquisite, you want to pull it to the front. This is how you make the association, and you will remember it sooner or later. Last one, Umweltbehörde, a word from my course, one of the few words that are not necessarily well, useful. They are the individual parts. So Umweltbehörde means around, means around, Welt means world, and Behörde means to belong. So belongs to is maybe not the right translation, but something that is about the world around us. And the world around us in Latin is the environment. Viral is something that's in circles or around, and in viral. Environ means it wraps around us. Genau. Mental is not mental, it's simply a grammatical suffix. Yeah. So it's something something that surrounds us, and Behörde, the authority, is actually responsible for the environment. That's how you can do it. And this is how you can deal with difficult words. And again, in the beginning, up to B1, I do this for you, and you just digest and you enjoy. And in your mind, you just follow me, and that is active enough. Two more. It's important, if you have difficult words, you polish your basics. Let's take a look at this word again, unvorsichtig. It's easy to to understand this word if you understand what vor means and Sicht. And if you understand ig at the end means an adjective, means something that is li or is in English. And un means not. You might have already understood that. So not with caution. Caution is something that you preview. Yeah, sight, view. So if you preview something, if you can see that something is coming towards you, you are cautious. So if you're without caution, you get vorsichtig, incautious. Again, I chose some difficult words, but you will get there. Last thing, finally. If you have difficult words at part 2, do not want to stick to your mind. There's only one thing you can do, and I can tell you it's the most difficult of things to learn in your life. Let go. Trust me, if you let go, it will come to you. Yeah? It will simply, at one point, after half a year, magically will be clear, oh, fuck, yes, this is it, I get it. Naturally, somehow, if you keep working, if you keep going, like I said in the beginning, these things will come to you. Let go. And that's something I let you go with. Is there still something? Whoppers. The words other people use, if they're important, yes. Like Zündkerze, ignition thing. First, you need to understand what it is in your mother tongue. So if you know what an ignition plug is, good. Then you can actually do the first technique that I talked about. If it's a word that you will never really use, because you will never have a car or a moped, ignore, let go. It's fine. Look it up once so that if you have to, so that you know what it's about, but then forget about it. Don't make an effort. There's, a limited amount. Interesting. One more. Now I'm surprised. Synonyms. Last is really the last thing. So, if you have synonyms, some books and teachers teach synonyms, which is in the beginning, and it's a crime. In the beginning, you only pick one, like taking notes, you select the information, and you pick, of course, the one that is most frequently used. So if it's like wechseln and ändern, well, these are a bit tricky, but as a tourist, for example, wechseln is more prominent because you will wechsel your money, exchange money. Yeah. While ändern is rather psychological. It's if you are already in Germany and you change your address, you enter your address. So all these things, whenever the time comes for this word, you will learn it. You don't have to learn it all at once or before it becomes relevant. The moment things get relevant or urgent, you will learn them. Don't learn similar things at the same time. So it will only confuse you, and confusion is something you want to avoid. So if there's any questions, I stop sharing the screen. Thank you for staying so long. It's an important topic, and there's still so much more I could say, but let's go to the Q&A. James asked whether memorize is sufficient. Absolutely not. The question is, what for? Yeah, you want to build a house, and you are asking me, is it sufficient to have bricks? No. Yeah, you need a lot more, which is why I put a lot of time into creating my online courses. Memorize will support you. Vocabulary is, of course, relevant. And if you're highly analytical like me and have a deep understanding of a language already or of language learning, you can learn a lot from just looking at phrases at Memorize and their translations. But it's a very limited and very time-consuming and therefore not efficient approach. So no, it's not sufficient. Whenever you realize, anyone who works with my course now or later, whenever you realize something is overwhelming, frustrating, confusing, you feel anxious, instantly reach out to me via the community. If it's a free lesson, the comments. If it's something very intimate, email, but I don't like email, so it's really an emergency. First, we use your course and then use the other apps or use it simultaneously. In the course itself, sufficient to learn the language. Absolutely, Anuji. My course is sufficient, and my course will show you when and how to use these tools. I don't use ReadLang because I create my own, and I don't want you to pay any additional money besides my course. You don't need to pay for Memrise. You don't need to buy Anki, the app, because Memrise does the job for free. So everything is explained step by step, slowly in my course, and there's still misunderstandings, as you can see, but I'm there to help you. Yeah? You need Smarter German for Android. James, you can use Smarter German on Android. You just open it in your browser. It's beautifully smooth experience. It's already there. It even works on Windows Phone. Yeah? Maybe you can install it on a pregnancy test. Who knows? I've seen that people install computer games on these things. So maybe you can do that as well. But just use your mobile browser. It's perfect. Yeah? I've studied until A2. Can I start a new course from B1? Well, no, you can't, unfortunately. I will this year split my main course into 3 parts, but it will take until the end of the year. So no, at the moment not, but well, try the first lesson of that course. You will certainly find things that are worth the money. And if you did B1 in a language school somewhere, it would possibly almost cost the same as well, depending on where you live. Yeah. So it's worth the money, and you get lifelong access, and you have basically access to old information of teachings that you haven't seen before. So try the first free lesson. And if you decide to give it a longer try to purchase it, you have 30 days to ask your money back, and just write me an email, you get your money back. Yeah? Yeah. How do we improve Hören with the Smarter German course? Well, it's part of the whole system. There's a couple of exercises that will practice your listening comprehension. Listening is one of the things that take the most time. You literally have to create new connections in your brain, and it's a physical act. Lots of chemistry, a little bit of electricity, to say the least, and you'll be fine. It takes time. And what Smarter German does is it keeps you going until this time comes. There's nothing you can do to pull the grass to make it grow faster. Yeah? Give it a try with the first lesson. You will already get an idea of how it works. And the same with speaking. You prepare speaking with my course. It's the best you can do online and even offline, if you ask me. Good. Have a wonderful evening. Hope to see you around, either here or in the courses. You do not have to wait for these masterclasses to ask questions. I have an email address, which hopefully you only use if you don't have enrolled in my free course yet or paid course. Ja? Dankeschön. Und schönen Abend, und bleibt gesund, stay healthy and stay positive. It's difficult times. Tschüss.